it's the French side who advance 6-5 on aggregate. For more, let's welcome in, shall we? Frank Leboeuf joins us, as does Jürgen Klinsmann. Fair to say, Craig, the best team won over the 2 legs?
I think so, just about. I mean, obviously possession was Bayern's, but it's not. We don't judge on possession alone. I think they dominated the first game as well in terms of possession. But actually, I felt in Paris they were. I don't know what you guys think. I felt in Paris Bayern looked more dangerous. Yep. Although they had a lot of shots, you saw the graphic. They did have a lot of strikes. Most of them were from an area where it was going to be really difficult to score unless there was something special. Where in the game in Paris, it seemed to me that they created better chances. And that's a credit to PSG in terms of it was more of a defensive display from them today. They, of course, themselves were dangerous going forward. The early goal really was a big killer. A big killer in terms of the momentum for Bayern Munich. But yeah, I think, PSG, they're proving themselves to be last year, an amazing end to the season, beating Inter 5-0. European champions, and they are there to be knocked off their perch again. Until somebody does that, they are the best team still in Europe.
No question.
Right.
I think Frank was laughing before we actually started the show about defending. Hallelujah, at last. And I think that opportunity that we showed that Diaz had, where you've got 2 defenders closing them down, which means that Diaz doesn't have a lot to shoot at, that kind of happened all night. And they only really made one chance, Bayern, for me, and that was a Musiala one that he put way too near the keeper. So, yeah, I think we've got to say that PSG, we know how good they can be on the break, but tonight they showed us that as a unit, they can defend, because they had to. They were in their own half for long periods. But we never got the feeling that Bayern were ever going to take over this game.
Who's got their window open? This time someone's backing up into the
Somebody backing a garbage truck in our rear here. I mean, it's like...
Jürgen, why wasn't this what we saw in the first leg?
Yeah, I mean, it's as you guys said, it took a lot of the air out of the situation with the early goal from Dembélé. I mean, this was a shocker, and I think Bayern Munich did not expect such an early goal from PSG. And then it was a defensive masterpiece, how they kind of defended the entire game, PSG. And then Frank can talk about that far deeper as a defender. They didn't give them any space. I mean, Musiala's chance, as you said, was probably the best chance they had until finally Harry Kane basically equalized the game in the last minute. But it was, it was frustrating. It was something that I think Bayern in that moment didn't expect, that they run after a 2-0 basically deficit. And I think, some players did not perform at their best, which is, happens. But if you want to get into a Champions League final, in the semi-final, you need to have almost your entire team, all 11 on the field, almost reaching all of them 100%. And I think they were lacking a couple of percent in many of the players today. Harry Kane did not get into the game at all. I mean, they shut him down fantastically, the both centre-backs from PSG. But until his last strike there in the last minute, you really didn't see him much, which is a compliment to PSG. And Luis Diaz didn't have the sharpness. Musiala didn't have the sharpness. That's what happens then. And then you look at it and say, you know what, it didn't go the way we wanted it, and it's highly, highly frustrating. I think a positive note, to the way they swallowed the fact that it was not giving a penalty with the handball there, because it was a huge discussion point, obviously. But they moved on, Bayern Munich. They didn't complain much about it. And they try to get back into the game. But, huge compliment to Paris Saint-Germain for this performance.
Frank?
Yeah, I was very pleased with the way Paris Saint-Germain defended, especially Pacho and Marquinhos. But I want to add when Zaire Emery on the right side, substituting Hakimi injured, and they did all well. And of course, we have to add Mendes. We all know that he's a fantastic player, and finally got Olise in his hands, because and that was hard on the first leg, but the second leg we didn't see too much Michael Olise. It's maybe the turning point, and the X factor is the fact that Olise, Kane, and Luis Diaz weren't at their best. But I don't want to be too hard on Bayern Munich. There are so many chances. They had chances. They weren't maybe lucky or maybe a little bit clumsy, but they could have turned the other way. And they had some chances, especially the first half. And I'm thinking about the Ta header and Musiala a chance, and also Olise once. So it could have been either way for me. And you have to congratulate Bayern Munich for their campaign. But Paris Saint-Germain is Paris Saint-Germain, and they know how to deal with games if they have to go be offensive and also defensive in that game. And you have to congratulate, of course, Luis Enrique for putting the right tactic today again against one of the best teams in Europe, maybe the best team in Europe.
Bayern Munich seemed to get frustrated. I know Jürgen said they moved on from the penalty, but as the game went on, which I think, by the way, the referee, by the letter of the law, got correct. But as the game moved on, it seemed that every decision, not necessarily was going against Bayern, but they felt it was going against them. Even when Kane fell on the ball near the end and it was handled, he gave the free kick correctly to PSG, and they just seemed a great frustration. And I think that was borne out by Joshua Kimmich getting booked after the final whistle, because he was just berating the referee. And I think that frustration in the end and not necessarily because the referee had a bad game. I don't think he did, to be honest with you. There might have been the odd little foul here or there, but I think he got the big decisions. Technically, he got them correct. But that frustration when you think it's not going your way, when you're not getting those little decisions, and that's just how it felt in the end for Bayern, that they felt every little decision the referee was given was going PSG's way.
It's interesting, Jürgen, you mentioned yesterday how this is the be-all and end-all, really, for Bayern's season. Frank said, it could, on a different day, they could have taken those chances if the ball had bounced their way. Does that offer an excuse for Vincent Kompany and his side?
I don't think that they're going to look for any excuse. I mean, they're going to be hugely, hugely disappointed because they badly wanted to get into the final since it didn't happen last season. I don't think that they complain too much about what happened today on the field, but it will have an influence on the upcoming months for the club. I mean, they're going to win the German title. They're in the German Cup final, so they might win the double. But the majority of their German players will go to the World Cup, and this sits deep with them, to lose in the semi-final of the Champions League. So to shake that off, kind of psychologically, that will take some time. But yeah, there were moments, where, they could have scored. They had enough chances, as Frank rightfully said so as well, but they were never really kind of determined and decisive enough to finish things off. You see, and that's also the masterwork of Paris Saint-Germain, because they shut down, if it's Musiala, if it's Luis Diaz, or if it's Olise, they were always with two guys against those guys, because they know their moves. They know how they come inside from the outside. They come inside and they get a better feed, and then they want to finish in a certain way, because that we all know that. But still, you got to run after them. You got to be on them. You got to be one yard in front of their face, and make sure that they never relax and pull the trigger. And this was fantastic from PSG. And there, probably when you kind of look at that game in the next couple of days, you analyze this game, for Vincent Kompany, he will realize that his key players, were not at their best just in these 90 minutes today. They tried, they were okay, they created okay chances, but they were not decisive enough when it really mattered.
Vincent Kompany 100% will look on this game and say, you know what, I set this team up the right way and the best way I could. Because for the amount of ball they had in and around the final third, the amount of ball Diaz had, Olise had on that side, Kane was giving it away, and Musiala had that one chance. His front four let them down. Basically let them down. Because the rest of the team got them enough of the ball where they were in positions where they could hurt PSG. Yes, PSG defended well. But Vincent Kompany can look at this game and say, you know what? It's one of those days where the players we needed to be at their best just weren't. And there was nothing to do with the tactics or the way he set the team up.
But those players, Stevie, it's hard to be. You can't really be harsh on them, because those players, Diaz, Kane, Michael Olise particularly, Musiala's come back from injury, obviously. But those other players have been brilliant for Vincent Kompany. Yeah. Absolutely outstanding. But on their one of the biggest of evenings for them in the second leg of the Champions League semi-final, as Jürgen said, Harry Kane couldn't find a way into the game. Michael Olise was trying things that have been coming off from all season and pretty much last season. And when he was running into defenders, or that pass was either to the wrong person or it was behind somebody. And when he was taking the strike at goal, it wasn't even close. All the things that they were doing and have been doing that have been finding the back of the net, and you sat back and went, that was brilliant. Mm-hmm. It wasn't there tonight. That for whatever reason, whether it was the pressure from PSG or whether it was just one of those nights where the longer it went on and the more frustrated they got.
Frank?
Yeah, I just want to add something. I'm going to put that on the table, and you three maybe is going to deal with that, but it's kind of a theory of conspiracy. But when I saw the name of the referee and his nationality at the beginning of the game, I say, oh my God, the German will be able to complain about it. And when you see Vitinha kicking the hand of Neves, on top of having Mendes and Ramos, I say maybe UEFA could have chosen maybe somebody. No, but I say that, but I can tell you, the first thing that I thought when I saw the nationality of the ref, I say, well, 4 Portuguese in Paris Saint-Germain team could be an X factor, because I remember playing in European Cup when I had a French coach referee playing with Chelsea. I say, oh, good for me. I would be able to talk to him. And don't tell me, guys, that you never had that and you never thought that was a good point. I don't say because the ref was perfect, but that would give something for the.
We've had
so it turns out
just for the Bayern Munich people to complain about, and open up, a big story.
Jürgen, a word on Luis Enrique and what he's done at PSG. We discussed it last week. Dembélé was saying, if I don't run, I don't play. And to get that out of a Ballon d'Or winner, you've got to take your hat off, don't you, to what Enrique has done?
I think it's huge what Luis Enrique has done in the last couple of years. It's an amazing work that he's done. To have this team committed to do all sorts of work, and not only going forward, with all the qualities that they have and score an amazing amount of goals and have really fun going forward. He has them committed to do defensive work like no other coach maybe has right now in Europe. What really, really impressed me, you thought, okay, Bayern Munich puts him under pressure. They're trying to find solutions to the usual way. But what was really impressed me was they did not even give away any sorts of corner kicks or free kicks around the box, because when your plan A is not working, you go to plan B and you may pay hope, for a couple of corner kicks. You have Tar and you have Upamecano and you have some guys that can really hurt you on corner kicks. PSG did not give away those moments. So Luis Enrique prepared his team not only for the most likely kind of strategy that Bayern Munich comes up with, he also prepared them for the plan B of Bayern Munich, that if they're not breaking through with the usual kind of players, Olise and Kane and Luis Diaz, then we are ready also for their plan B, with going with set pieces, with free kicks and all that stuff. And so the work that he's done is humongous, because he has the players buying into a lot of work. And I mean, you can talk about the biggest teams in Europe. That's the main job of a coach, that you get everybody behind you and do also the dirty work. And he's done that, and this is outstanding.
Frank, how it's changed, eh? It seems a light years away now of the Messi, Mbappe, Neymar days.
Yes, exactly. And it's really amazing to see that team, after getting rid of all his stars, getting results like that, and twice in a row getting the Champions League final. And as you mentioned, and as you were talking about it with Jürgen, the commitment of every player is 100%. You see people on the bench being with the guys, they get out, and we saw Dembélé and Doué on the bench with Fabien Ruiz, being with the guys on the field, supporting them, and you feel the unity of that team. You feel the hard work that they put on every training session, and what you get out of it. And it's really amazing the way they play. Of course, they're talented players, but today they showed that after that 5-4 that everybody says it's a game of the century, offensively perfect, that they're capable of defending in front of 80,000 people, crazy atmosphere, and they were there. And as soon as they have a chance, with players like Kvaratskhelia and of course Dembélé. That first goal is absolutely fantastic. That team has no weakness. And I don't see any weakness right now. We'll see against the Gunners because it's going to be a final. It's going to be totally different. It's a final. But really, they are the favourites for me. I don't see them losing, but it's a final.
We'll talk about the final a little later on. You look at some of the players that stood out over those two legs, and Kvaratskhelia, of course. It's just so much fun to watch.
Liverpool bound.
Well, yes, according to yourself, I believe.
Listen, he'd walk into any team. I mean, and it's scary to think he was actually out the PSG team when they played Liverpool in one of the previous rounds. He doesn't look the quickest, but he has got a good turn of pace. It's the way that he drops the shoulders. Yep. He's got great movement. And Michael Elise is kind of similar in the sense that he throws these dummies as well that sends some of the fullbacks for a cup of tea. And he's got this as well. So he stood up when it's been needed. He's a brilliant player. He's got end product to his game. He can run with the ball. He's a great dribbler, as I say. Throws a great dummy in there. It's very difficult for a one-on-one defender to defend against him. And he works hard. Mm-hmm. And that's the common theme with this Luis Enrique side, is supremely talented, but it is aligned with the work rate. And that's got the signs. And that's the making of a great side. And they're not always a big physical, powerful side. Yeah, we've got Pacho and Marquinhos are big lads. But you look at Vitinha, you look at João Neves, Kvaratskhelia is not the biggie. Doui's not huge. Dembele's not big. They're not a huge... Nuno Mendes, the fullback, he's not. Neither's Hakimi. They're not a huge physical team, but they're a strong side, and they can mix it in that department with most, and they will have to do that with Arsenal, who are a big physical side. But they are brilliant to watch, and one thing is clear: they respect their manager and they want to play for him.